So welcome everyone. This is Rahul Reddy from Career Launcher Bangalore, and I have with me Tejaswi Giridhar. Now Tejaswi is All India rank 18 in CLAT 2025. Right? Did I get the number right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So congratulations once again, and
Thank you.
let's start off with the key moment. So when did you check the results? When did you actually find out this particular rank?
Like ALET was the next day, yesterday. So,
Yes.
like when I was checking the rank, I actually didn't know the rank was out. So I was preparing for ALET. So I was going to sleep early. I was brushing my
Okay.
teeth, and then I checked on my phone, and then
Okay.
that's like when I saw it while I was brushing my teeth. So, yeah,
Okay. Wonderful. So what's the first reaction?
I screamed very loudly,
Okay.
enough to disturb both my parents. So, yeah,
And I'm sure forgivable at this stage.
yeah,
Okay, so then especially this year, but okay, it's getting a bit of a pattern where the way the paper is being set and the errors and the doubts, it's creating a fair amount of unnecessary tension, and
yeah.
therefore, I'm sure when you looked at the provisional scores, you were reasonably confident, but then the ambiguity makes it always puts an element of doubt.
Yeah, despite the like rank, I still expected a different score and different
Right.
responses to the objections. But yeah, the
Absolutely.
outcome was good for me. So yeah,
Hmm. Well, I think it makes sense. Sometimes, in fact, some of the questions where you get it right, but you still know that perhaps the
yeah,
right answer wasn't that in that sense. Right. So we can endlessly debate that English question, which is pretty obviously wrong. There's one maths
yeah,
question obviously wrong that they've not changed. The legal question on the minor that again is probably obviously wrong. But okay, so in the end, all that ends well ends well.
yeah.
Okay, but let's kind of go back to the beginning. So, when is it that you thought of law as a career, and what was the process of selecting?
So I was a JE student up until like a full-fledged JE student up until about the latter half of my first PU, so my 11th grade.
Okay,
But
right.
like near the end, so after midterms, I had less interest in science. I didn't like it that much. And I was looking into other avenues. Law seemed like the best choice. So yeah, I tried a few mocks and then I joined CL.
So, was that a little bit of a difficult transition? Had taken science and doing some investment in about a year in JE and then moving.
Well, I mean, the hard work I put for a year, I mean, that it does feel like sort of a waste. But then initially the transition was actually fine because the
Hmm.
like pace at which I went into mocks, I had a few months breathing space in the middle. So
Hmm.
I had worksheets and everything in the middle. So yeah, it
Right.
wasn't too difficult. I actually found it like quite pleasant. But yeah, it was still jarring to go from science to law.
And convincing your parents, was that difficult?
Yeah, he very, very difficult. It took about a month.
Okay, but how did you manage it?
I mean, like in the end, they were really supportive. But then the initial thing, like my entire family is science background family, so
Right. Right.
yeah, that always has like some sort of resistance to it. But yeah, I just like went with the pros and cons. I explained everything, and then yeah, like looked into a lot of different things. And then
So you were able to tell them about NLS and the programs and the
yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah,
careers after law. Yes, right.
yeah. The placement packages, all of that.
We keep talking to children when we tell them, look, you can't go emotional. It makes sense to go logical and try to provide supporting evidence as to why it's a valid
Yeah,
reason to
yeah,
change your career. Makes sense, right? Good. Of course, now they must be very very happy.
yeah. That's all out of the window now. Yeah.
Right, right. Good. Asha, since you have the unique experience of being in both sides, right? Uh, how different is, let us say, a JE training classroom and a CLAT training classroom?
Okay, so JE training classroom, it's completely rote learning. There's obviously you have to think a lot. You can't not think and write JE. But then it's 90% rote learning. You memorize about 300 sums and then you're done with the topic pretty much. And like it's like if you waste a few days, then you're lagging behind everyone else. and then you have to spend so much. It's like there's not much you can do to accelerate away. There's not much you can do to make it dynamic. But in law, it's like if you understand something, if you understand the crux of something, that's how you get to the core of a question or the passage or something like that. So it's more about, instead of taking in information, taking in formulas and methods and all of that, it's more about like how you think in a different way. So like following a different train of thought or a like rational process. So like that, you just learn the logical flows, and yeah, that gets developed with mocks and everything.
There also seems to be a little more energy, and you could say a little more of you could call it chaos in the kind of interactivity and debate and disagreement and agreement
Yeah,
in a class.
definitely, definitely. I mean, like that's when. Like when you look at those questions, those are things that you read and then you understand and then you think about and then you answer. So, like everyone's going to have different viewpoints, different ideas, and yeah, it's fun and it's also chaotic.
Right. So, okay, now from the time you started off at Career Launcher, what's the experience been like?
It's been great, like throughout. There isn't one aspect that I like think would warrant improvement. So it started off with worksheets, and then there were I think two classes a week, and then it was Monday and Friday, and then we had worksheets on different things. So every section had its own subject, and then we used to do worksheets for a while. Then it slowly transitioned into mocks. The transition was slow pace, and I think that's good because by the end I was doing a mock a day. So if I started off with that, I don't think it would have been very. But like the transition into mocks was especially like significant because that's when I like started feeling the sort of importance of having to do everything within 2 hours. So the worksheets prepared me for that, but doing the mocks really, really helped.
Okay, since we've come to the topic of the mocks, uh, in general, what we have seen is that successful students tend to be very regular with mocks, right? And then we also seen that successful students tend to take as many physical mocks as possible rather than
Yeah.
online. So that is something we normally recommend to students in that sense. So what's been the mock experience, right? From the quality of the papers to the process of taking it to the analysis that we provide and so on. What's that experience been like?
Okay, so I've attempted every mock I've attempted, like in terms of the CLAT mocks has been and AL mocks has been offline, and I think that's completely necessary. Like I mean, in the actual exam they banned underlining of the options and crossing of the options, but having the paper in my hand was still like it still prepared me for the exam better than any online mock ever could. So I think that's completely necessary. It's obviously fine if you don't have access to it, but yeah. And then the mocks, writing the mocks was initially like I didn't go by the scores initially. I just went by how it felt, how I sequenced it, and I like played around with the sequencing up until August, September, and then after that I stuck with one sequence, and then the analysis. I went with a thorough analysis for most mocks. Near the end, I did too many to have time to analyze all of them. But like, yeah, up until maybe September, October, I analyzed every mock, and I went and sort of resolved every doubt I had with the answer key.
Right. Okay. Now, a couple of things which are a little more specific. One is when you give so many marks, there are times where things don't go your way, and you
Yeah.
find that you're in a plateau and like, look, this one section, this code just doesn't seem to go up or something like that, or suddenly goes down or fluctuates. Right. What does one do at that particular time?
Yeah, I mean, you can't not do anything. So if there's maybe 5, 6 mocks in a row, where for me it was actually for me it was all of them at one point. I had like some mocks in a row where I had 70s or well, like it even dipped to 60s at like some points. But like yeah, you can't just trust in yourself and say no, it'll go up eventually. You have to change something about something, and then that could maybe be the sequence, that could be the time taken. Like the person writing the mocks knows better than anyone, and like the skill is to recognize what it is. So yeah, that for me it was mostly just making sure I didn't go with any gut feeling. Like I had to alienate myself completely from what I felt was the right answer and instead actually look at the question. So yeah, uh, I did end up improving it near the end. So there was like a rut I got stuck in, but then I got out of that near the end. So yeah, that was a good feeling to have going into the exam.
That's something that students watching this video should take note of. There will be bad days. There will be times where you don't see the improvement and you feel a little frustrated. There'll be times when scores go down. But it is natural when you're giving so many marks that you will have some bad days. But there are ways in which you have to persist, try to understand, and see how you can get out of it. So that's, I think, the story here. Okay. Second, one part is the knowledge and ability to solve questions. The second is how well you can optimize your strategy for that 120 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So, what kind of tips did you get from the teachers and at CL and about planning those 120 minutes and learning from the marks and improving the next time and so on?
I mean, there are dozens of tips that I got. It's hard to like say them all, but I'll say like the culmination of it was what I did. So I'll just say that the quant section is what I started with, but like the quant section is something that's really, really, really crucial. So no one can compromise on that. I got four, I think 2 to 4 wrong in the actual exam, but based on my prep, I still was pretty good in quant by the end. I used to get 11, 12 a mock. So that's something I started with. I spent maybe 25 minutes on that. I'm fast at reading, so I used to spend up to 35 minutes if I had the need to. But like for most people, it may not happen that way. Like I don't know how it works out in terms of logic and legal, but for me, I could read through the passage pretty fast and read the answers pretty fast. Now that's not something I would like say it's necessary to go by. So like allow yourself 35 minutes is not something I'll say. What I will say is assess how fast like you can do a section, and then based on that sort of do the paper, and it varies where you put it. So logic I used to do it at the end for the initial mocks. It did not go well, so I moved it up to doing it third. I did quant, legal, logic, and then English and GK. So that's what worked for me at the end because my reading is fast, but for some people it may not be that way. They have to adjust it that way. So yeah, making sure they know how fast they can do a section is really important.
Right. Okay. Now, the other thing that sometimes comes out that there is a, how do you put it, that learning is not a solo journey. It's a kind of a social experience, right? So you are in a class, there are others, some of them are pretty serious, as serious as you, some of them are quite talented, they're competitive, they also cooperate, sometimes form groups. So how's the social part? Like, do you have a group that you work with, or you interacted broadly with everyone?
Okay, so for the first half of the year 2024, so there wasn't really any organizing per se, but there were classes. So that was definitely a factor in like how I did the worksheets and everything, and the discussions of the mocks and everything. That was there. The classes really, really helped. But near the end, so my GK prep was not the best. So GK I can't really have a take on. But in terms of mocks, I had a classmate, one of my friends in the Jayanagar Center itself, Shresht. I used to do mocks with him every single day for the last
Right.
2 weeks, I think. Every day there was a CL mock. I didn't write a mock in the center, obviously, but the other mock, like other days, I wrote a mock every single day. So and we used to do the analysis at the same time together as well. So yeah, it's very important to have like some sort of network to make sure you don't like uh, get yourself too weak in any aspect of your preparation. So that's important.
Okay. Right. So it's broadly all that we wanted to cover today. As Let us make a kind of assumption here that NLS Bangalore is what you'll be choosing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
you were in touch with the previous students who are studying at NLS Bangalore, and did they kind of, you were able to reach out to them, and did they help?
A few, but like in terms of preparation, I actually just like
Okay.
the input really helps, but I prefer to have my own sort of
Okay. Right.
like tweaks and everything.
So again, as with, I think you might have seen that on that Meet the Toppers Day last time. So as with every year, this year also, there's a very significant number of people who will be, the exact number is still being worked out. It's a, again, pretty significant number of people who will move from Career Launcher Bangalore a few miles away to NLS Bangalore.
Yeah,
And so in that sense, you're going with a group and not alone.
yeah.
But so good. Congratulations again. And
Thank you.
definitely convey regards to your parents too,
Yeah,
because they, so, it's a part of, as
yeah,
a family, you trusted Career Launcher to start your prep with.
100%. Yeah.
And Yes, we will be meeting physically soon, and one, of course, is the due is the total achievers meet where all of us get together, all the people who got it who've done very well in the CLAT 25. Right? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
you.